Well, welcome everyone to the very first edition of On the Offense for 2026. Happy New Year, everyone. By the time this gets posted, this is the 8th of January today. This will get posted the week of the 12th. I don't know at what point it becomes too late to say Happy New Year. But regardless, Happy New Year. We're really excited for this year. This is going to be a big year for me, for Jeff, for Gelman. Gelman, say hi.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year.
There it is.
That's our Gelman.
Yes.
It's going to be a big year for Clients First, and it's going to be a great year for our clients. We're really excited for this year. One of the reasons we are so excited for this year is because we launched, I should say relaunched, but we launched our new website about a month ago, early December, kind of 2.0 for us. And there were a lot of reasons why we did that. We had planned it for months. But one of the reasons we did that is we really wanted to do more to overtly pump up the people and the companies that are in our network. Jeff and I have spent a lot of, and we sometimes talk about our network on these podcasts. Jeff, what is this, number 26, 27?
Maybe 27.
27.
Isn't that crazy?
We've mentioned our network many times on these podcasts, and in some cases we've had people from the network as guests, but we, and there's just so much value in that, not just in a network kind of generically, but I'm talking about the people in our network. We have built a really strong network of collaborators, experts, true experts in their field. We've spent a lot of time in the background over the first year of our business doing that. And so we do try to pump up this network as a source of strength for our firm. And we wanted the new site to do that. And we actually list, Jeff, I want to say about 15 of these partners. We have more.
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons, we listed these, I want to say it's 14 partners. One of them is a company called Reformer, which is based in the absolutely spectacular town of Hermosa Beach, California, where Gelman happens to live. They are one of the companies on the list. They also happen to be the company, not coincidentally, that we worked with to develop our new website. And Jeff, you did a great piece, early December on, all things web trends. Mm-hmm. So this topic has been on our mind for a while now, and we were going to do this in December. We ran out of time, but the new faces you see here are Pete and Ash from Reformer. They are fantastic. I have learned a lot, Jeff. I mean, we've learned a lot from these guys.
A lot. The art of the possible versus the art of what we had done before.
Yeah, and just every time I get off the phone with these guys, I say to myself, I just learned something. And Pete Nash, I'm not just saying that. Sometimes Jeff and I will call each other afterward and say, did you get that point? That was really, really insightful and something that we can also share with our clients. And so anyway, we appreciate Pete and Ash, everything you did to launch 2.0 for us. Ash was the brainchild, I believe, for our new logo, which we love. And we're just really excited to have you guys in our partner network, and on this podcast. So welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Before we get into that, Jeff, I have to ask, any New Year's resolutions? And the same, Pete, you guys, before we talk web.
Yeah, I mean, it's business success. That's what I want. I'd love to have a successful agency, and I think we're well on the road to that. So that's my New Year's resolution.
That's fair. Pete Nash, any New Year's resolutions?
I'm not a huge resolution person. Because, I mean,
A lot of people say that these days, and it's probably the right approach.
it's like,
Yeah, it is.
I would have the same goals that I have right now, like within Reformer with Pete, and then, your standard like personal stuff, health, wellness. We're always like trying to strike a balance with everything. So it could be July and I would probably have the same goals.
That's fair.
That makes for a good resolution.
Yeah, it does. Pete,
Yeah, I think that's the thing with me too, is like if I get fixated on something, it doesn't end in like the year. It's like at its completion, things change. So I feel like, for me, it's just be a better dog owner. Like just be the best dog owner I can be. I mean, that's really the high-minded, things behind me, is just make sure I take lots of walks, always have treats. That's the thing I just really have to do.
if we all focus on being better dog owners, we probably end up being better people to be around, better humans, better professionals.
It's amazing how much a dog will influence who you meet and how you get to know people. I think it's a good mission for me.
I think that's fantastic.
In many ways, dogs are superior to humans. They don't kill each other. They don't
100%.
backstab each other. They greet you at the door. They give you a kiss no matter how your day was. So
in every way, they are superior.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Life too seriously.
It's Wally or Walter?
His full name is Walter White because he's a white dog. So I took the opportunity. I never had a white dog. I'm like, I'll lean into this. But he goes by Wally unless he's being bad. Then I call him Walter.
Oh, no. Good. Well, if Wally somehow ends up making an appearance, this podcast will be that much better.
Yeah, he's resting now, so
he's resting,
getting ready for his next walk. Probably.
Well, he's probably had a stressful morning. He needs,
yeah,
needs to take a break. So
yeah,
so these guys are real pros. They're also great to work with. Why don't you maybe start with an introduction of your firm, and then we can go from there.
I think it might be good to give some background as well, like just kind of show how this thing evolved. And I think Ash and I have similar enterprise level backgrounds, meaning like we've worked at Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 companies. I started out in automotive and kind of got a lot of understanding about how this technology world like works and evolves. And Ash, I mean, like I think of like one of the larger companies that she worked for is Disney, and I think Budweiser was one of her like larger clients too. But so we have this very corporate background, and throughout that process, you see all the resources and tools and like creative people and processes and all these things that are available to corporations that kind of ride the backs on a lot of the smaller businesses, and they take and steal from things. And the thing is, I think as I got older and started my own companies, I thought a lot about that end user and was really focused on them, as much as possible. And what it kind of got to is this idea that we could, with the right amount of scaling things down and helping people understand that they don't have to do this job. We just needed to scale it down so that we could partner with them and allow them to be the best at what they're doing. And so Reformer is really the idea about reconnecting with what you do, understanding that there's a lot of things that are coming up against you in terms of, understanding the internet as well as software programs and strategy and marketing and all these things that kind of go with a website. And so we said like, well, we've done this, we can scale it back. So why not offer that to small businesses so that they can have the same treatment that most people get, but they have huge retainers. And so for us, we know that, we've used the analogy with you guys before, but it's kind of like buying a software platform or buying into something like Shopify, for example, is kind of like this DIY idea that, oh, here you go. Now you're going to make all this money. you have to put in so much effort to understand it in order to make it work properly that the analogy is like getting a gym membership and not knowing how anything works.
Right.
So what we like to say is it's like getting a gym membership with a trainer. And so we take you along the process in that and help you understand. We help educate and try to put you in the best position to use the tools that are available to you. We also try to make sure that like you understand the opportunities that are there, and we try to push these things in a program to our clients so that they can use the web effectively and evolve. And so it's just an ongoing battle, but we kind of understand the most important things that we can put in front of each person, each client. And so that's really what our focus has been. And like Ash and I have these great conversations, ongoing about how the fundamental understanding is just like really fighting for, a lot of, I guess, these great people who make all these great things, but it's also education. And so we're very focused on training people, getting newer people involved in these things, and sort of having this kind of 360 view about how this works so that we feel really good at the end of the day about what we're doing.
Well said.
Well, that's certainly what you did for us. Hey, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong. We have a ways to go before we are the best students in the class. But,
yes.
But these guys you guys did try to educate us, and you did educate us. You weren't just doing things. You were telling us why you were recommending and then doing things, right? And so kind of learned along because of that.
There's an inherent utility, I think, that is necessary to explain to a lot of people. It's like, why should I do it? And I think, if you can't answer why, there's probably no real reason why you should put the effort into it. So I think, understanding that, there is an ROI that's measurable with most effort that you put into the web. You should define what that is ahead of time to see if it's worth your effort, because it does take away from what you're doing. And so I think those are built-in elements of how we think and process ideas. And so I think it's inherent in what we do, but the why is important. And I think, both Ash and I always question those things. And so our conversation, which is funny because we came across each other, we went to high school together, and I've known Ash probably, I don't know, over 40 years. So we kind of like separated and after high school, and then we kind of came together recently in this kind of same mission driven idea. And so it's been fantastic, but the fact that we have kind of that same understanding of why things need to be done or how they should be done, and we can discuss it at length with a lot of like extreme intelligence coming from her side. Mine's just all, guessing. But no, so it's very nice to work with someone so intelligent and really good at their job, so that we can have these conversations and balance these very like unknowable things. And so it's good.
I think if you want to see a great example of what these guys could do, our website I would describe in the beginning, and I think Pete, you said this, was kind of more of a brochure about us. If you wanted to find out what the firm was, who John and I were or are, it was a good way to find it. But when we put together the brain trust of Pete and Ash and let them loose on our site, now if you go there, you'll see all this level of interactivity and engagement and ways to, show our knowledge and experience, but also these folks can engage with us in a much more lively, interactive way. So kudos, and I'd invite everyone to go and see our website as it is right now. I think it's so far beyond what it was before, and that's kudos to you and kudos to Ash.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I think it's sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say it's a common thing, that sort of like brochure website, right? And the thing with these like smaller, medium-sized businesses, it's the focus is on the business, Like why would you, Pete and I have dedicated our careers to knowing this stuff, but why would somebody else know this, right? So that's where, it's been great just establishing like genuine partnerships with people and kind of guiding them along the way. Cause how would you know? Right. And there's products out there like your Shopify and platforms like that, but it can only take you so far. And how would you know like what to do to optimize those things? It requires a whole different skill set that most people wouldn't have time for.
No question. So this is interesting. There's a lot of ways we can go with this. How about this? Maybe start from scratch. Like this is either a really easy question to answer or a really hard question to answer. What makes a good website? Or what makes a bad website? Maybe both sides of the coin. I mean, could probably spend more on that, but
I think that's like what I was referring to is that unknowable thing, right? And so if you take it from Ash's perspective, she'll look at something and say, I know exactly what this needs, like from a brand perspective to kind of elicit. And I don't know if you just conjure this or whatever, however you do it, like your thought process and how this comes about is always magic to me. I'm like, I don't know how you did this, but whatever. She takes like her understanding of what this brand like needs in terms of like when you look at a logo, you have to see the brand in that logo because it's that like little moment and everyone's losing attention spans and all that stuff. So those things are, implicit in what we do, but user experience, usability, brand, and the technology all working together is really like when you see things, you notice like how bad like an experience is, it takes away from the brand. And so I think for what we're doing is we're reducing it to that seamless like experience that you're like, oh, I can just go through the site, read the story, and it's an easy conversation, like a one-on-one conversation with the site. And I think erasing any of those obstacles to get to what that message is what we're driven by. And so, like, here's a good example. We're working with a lot of coffee, like specialty coffee roasters. We love coffee over here, so we're very enthusiastic about this. But if you think about it, if someone comes across a coffee website and they have never had your coffee, they don't know what it is. It's just a cup of coffee to them. They're like, why should I care? And so finding the reason that your brand matters to somebody that they don't know about makes you want to try the coffee. That's exactly what you're getting to because you're replacing human interaction or someone handing you a cup of coffee at a coffee shop. You've got to elicit those things and kind of build that trust with somebody. And so there's different problems with each business and it really keeps us busy in terms of thinking about what those experiences are. So.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that, also with the design part of things, you want good solid branding that reflects your brand and you want, aesthetically pleasing, color palettes and all that stuff should be in line with, who you are as a brand. But there's also the other element with like the user experience where you can have beautiful imagery and all the right things. But if a user comes to your site or any digital product and there's too many friction points and they're not getting what they need out of it, then you've lost them. Right. So there's the visual part of things, but then there's also very much the user experience. And the best user experience is one where the user doesn't even notice anything. Right. It's just seamless. They can go, let's say, buy coffee or whatever, and there's no friction points. Like they don't even know that they're having a good user experience. Then that's like the home run. So there's a lot of thinking behind all those things and all the subconscious things that we don't even realize that we're doing on our phones with apps and stuff like that, where we don't even realize that we're subconsciously making those judgments against or for brands. So that's something that we consider a lot too.
I think when I look at websites, it's almost like meeting a person. It's that power, that first impression. And so I think that's really important, like you guys have kind of pointed out. But it's not just what it looks like. You want a really nice design. You want to show these people care about what they put online, but you also want them to understand who we are and maybe engage them to get them to go deeper into the website. And I think all the things you put in place invite that. So again, more kudos.
Yeah, I think if you look at each page as an opportunity or has a purpose, like if you look at the idea that like they're there on their own for a certain amount of information or to get to that next step, there's always inherent, like, I guess, tasks that have to be completed from your mind. And so I think making sure that those things are there, like, let's talk about your About Us page as it's evolved a little bit. Like, it's going to be more utility for you because now you have a place to send people that gives that bio, that gives the understanding of who you are. I think having that space, having it be very nice, elegant, able to send that stuff, it's really nice to have your own place to do that because you own it. Like, if it was on LinkedIn, that's great and you can connect with other people, but you don't own any of that. They do. They monetize it. So I think platforming and all this stuff that happened back, early 2000s, it's a negative experience if you look at it, like if you zoom out and you look at it. It's a negative experience for small businesses. It's a negative experience for a lot of the users. And it's just turned into something that is really kind of corrupted a lot of the overall user experience because it's all in service of marketing dollars or advertising. But what you give up when you don't own your own brand is so much equity in what you've put in to that daily conversation, that explanation of who you are. So taking that back, putting a little bit more effort into that and like being able to monetize it yourself for business, connections, whatever that might be, there's a place that you should generate your own like universe from your brand site. And I think that's the most effective way to do it. And then you leverage channels, but you don't give up that equity to other places. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important to think about it in like the greater context for your own brands.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys give us a few examples of companies that have great websites?
Have
websites that really serve the purpose you've talked about. I know some that I like, but from your perspective,
why don't we start with some of your ideas? Because I think I could name a million, but I think it's sort of like for me, it's like naming like who's your favorite band, and the reason I'm saying that is because they all have. I would say you can categorize stuff into different site experiences, and we go through this on a regular basis. But these things are shifting and changing. So I would say let's get some understanding from your side, and then we can jam on this because I think Ash and I both have some fun examples. Excuse me. Go ahead.
I think of cutting edge companies like Nike, Apple, Accenture's kind of interesting. I mean, there are companies out there that seem to know what's going to appeal to people and draw them in. Versus other sites you go to. I know that when I was working with the last company I worked with, we were going to bring on a PR agency, and the first thing we looked at was their websites.
Yeah.
And one of our upper level people who thought was great firm, their website was nothing. It was really primitive, and it told us they really don't care so much. So, naming those companies, maybe that gives you kind of a hint of what we might gravitate to.
So it's funny because most people, I feel like for the last couple decades, if you ask them what websites they think are fantastic, Apple is usually the first thing that comes out of their mouth. Mm-hmm. And, Apple, obviously, they have put in the time and dollars to an impeccable user experience. And the reason why it's so good is because they did all the research and everything is so intuitive. It's why like you watch like a 1-year-old open a phone and it's almost scary, right? Like it's and they even though the design is so simple, right? It's essentially 2 colors. They that doesn't mean it's easy, right? Like actually that's more difficult from a design standpoint, but they put in the time, and it's because it's so clean and beautiful and intuitive. And I think that's why it's like the first thing that comes to mind to so many people.
I think you're right. I knew that Apple was going to be one of them. I worked there for a while, and it's incredibly, I guess, humbling to understand how big their research department is and how big usability and strategy is to that company. It's huge.
Oh, I believe it.
People that work there are super smart, and you can learn so much just by listening in any of those meetings. So Ash is right. It's like simplicity is the most difficult thing to do. And it's so important because like what she was saying before is like when you don't notice you're doing things, that means you're focusing on the messaging. So the interactivity kind of melts away and you're just enjoying the experience. And so I think that's what is so elegant about those sites. And even with like, if you take like compare it to Nike, you know, you've got beautiful graphic design. And Portland and that area of the world has some of the most amazing people in terms of how they do their job and what they can produce. But you look at those sites and how they're composed, it's basically like a movie or a story that's being told in sort of a linear fashion. And it's gorgeous and you don't notice, you get excited. Like it elicits an emotion that's so palpable. And so I think the purpose, and that's kind of where I was going with this, Jeff, is that those things that they've focused on and what they're successful at are telling these stories and these brand things without having technology to talk about necessarily. But when you do see something with each of those sites that's brand new and you're like, oh my God, how did they do this? That's exciting too. So they take advantage of these things. They're storytellers. They're movie makers. They're like, you know, they're incredible at what they do. And to look at some of those things and just go, I can't believe what I just saw. Like that's exciting to me. And there's so many people out there that are so good at this. And when you take creative technology, couple them with a guy who's really good at storytelling, like a great copywriter, you can create some amazing things. And it's very, very, like technology is such a cool thing because it's so, you know, I guess ever evolving and changing. And in front of you with technology now, you can pretty much do anything. And so it's exciting. You can dump a lot of time and money into these things too. But, again, that simplicity idea, that's really where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I wasn't surprised, Jeff, when you said Apple.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't surprised, Ash, when you said, oh, we hear a lot about that. I wonder how much of that is just the value of the brand in general. Like there's a halo effect. I wonder if a lot of people say Apple because I'm sure they've earned it. I mean, the website is great. I haven't been on it in a while, but I wonder if there's also halo effect that when you think of anything relating to branding, Apple's one of those companies you think of, so you automatically say, oh yeah, I like their website.
Yeah.
Well, even if you haven't really been on it in a while.
Yeah, it's hard to separate the two because I don't think they can be mutually exclusive, right? Like the branding and the user experience, you know, it's like which one's influencing the other. And obviously Apple has put, just as we talked about their user experience and design, they've put that same amount of effort into their branding as well, right? So I think it all works together.
It's like you'd have to say like, for a comparable sized company or someone with as many customers as them, like how do they appear? And so you think about like, I don't know, an oil company or something like that who has lots of customers. Like, do people look favorably upon that? No, because they don't really care about putting their brand in front of people as much as Apple does. Yet it's used probably even just as much, if not more than, you know, the device. So if you look at like, the pride in what they have and what they do, it's all about that simplicity and bringing people through this technology thing. I think it makes you wonder like what the value is of that brand in terms of how, I don't know, like Shell or Chevron or someone like that might position themselves versus It's not a great comparison, I gotta say, but it's like, what I'm trying to say is like, those brands are very well known. And so how would you compare the two? They're different user experiences. They're different like interactions with people. And so, that's the thing that like we have to figure out is the nuances between everything and what the purposes are. And so I always look at it that way. Like each person has its own place, or each brand has its place in the world, but how do they want to really push that in front of people?
Mm-hmm.
But Apple's like in your hand every couple minutes. Like, so if you think about it,
it's a big part of
thing to compete with, and so, they kind of have to feed that beast.
Yeah.
I think it's reflective of like Steve Jobs, his approach. He wasn't a technology guy. He was a design guy. And he always thought, okay, what does the typical person, or what do I want out of a PC or out of a smartphone or whatever else? And then he'd go to his design guys on the technology side and then on the aesthetic side and say, I want this. I want you to make it as elegant as possible. I want it white. I want it this size, what have you. And then he put the challenge on them. So maybe that kind of reflects their philosophy behind their website. It's got to be elegant. It's got to be simple. At the same time, very utilitarian.
There's a huge amount of like empathy involved too, because understanding like how people are going to use the technology, right? Like that's where all that research and like deep insights and really getting into the shoes of the user, like, and then, and now we're at a phase where, there's a back and forth of influence, right? So Apple did kind of set out, they did start, sort of like, user behaviors, right? Like we whether we know it or not, we've been taught things. Like think of, like a mobile, like a app or a, mobile site. Like we all know that 3 lines means a menu, right? We weren't born knowing this.
Right.
That was, we were sort of groomed to into that behavior, right? And now it's a universal thing. And what's happening, I think now is things are kind of working back and forth, and companies that have the dollars and manpower to research this stuff, like they're staying on top of it, of how we're evolving, how like our day to day is evolving, and they're responding to that, right? And it's all kind of working together.
Yeah, I think like when you were talking about our kids like growing up with a like Apple device, like I remember my son Will, who's 16 now, this is a while ago. So I remember him walking up to the TV and just trying to swipe the TV. He had used an iPad, and I'm like, yeah, incredible. And so that idea that like interaction can create some sort of educational, value there, knowing that design trends actually affect usability, it's like, it's an amazing thing that, cause it's so dimensional. It's not just a design that sits there on a paper. It's very much like you can go so much deeper, and it either provides utility or just kind of that wonderment, like about discovery of like what you're looking at, reading, or, so I think all these things they're all tools at your disposal to tell your brand story and, talk about a product, talk about something, but it's basically, there's all these things at your disposal. And again, you can go as crazy as you want, as long as those things have some utility to do the job. And so I think that's the cool part about this. It's like, there's just a million ways to do everything.
100%. You guys have talked about ROI a couple of times on this, right? So, all right, let's have some fun. You mentioned there's a lot of is that true? I never would have thought there's a lot of local coffee companies in the South Bay there.
There's in the United States, I think there's around 7,500 specialty coffee roasters.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And the thing is, you wouldn't know this because think about it. They are trying to roast coffee. They have either one store or maybe the store plus a roastery, and that's local. They serve a local population, and most of their business is from that. They can't extend themselves outside of that. And so that's really their growth possibility. It's either opening another store or just building a better online presence. That's so much less expensive than opening up a store. And so because these things are beautiful expressions of coffee, like it's sort of like I liken it like wine. It's amazingly enjoyable experience when you get someone else's like different take on it.
Yeah.
So that's something that I love and I want everyone else to love. I want people who love it to discover it. And so that's kind of where this idea is that like your return on investment for a site is way higher than it would be to start up a store, get employees, keep them on. Like the effort that goes into that it'll get there, but it's going to take so much longer. And so it's a much less expensive way and responsible way to expand a business, especially from a small company. And
no question about that. All right, so I'm living in Manhattan Beach. I want to join the gold rush here to becoming a specialty coffee roaster. I come to you and say, okay, build me a website. What are some of this is going back to ROI, what are some of and I'm trying to frame this in a way that could be helpful advice to any small business owner. We're just kind of using coffee as an example, right? What are some of the metrics that are common that people need to understand before they start to develop a website or do what we did and do a 2.0? What are some of the common metrics that they should be watchful for?
Well, when we looked at this, Ash can talk about this too. Like from a design standpoint, things are there. Like some of this stuff is beautiful and you probably never notice it from the untrained eye. You just go like, oh, this is a great website. But what she was saying too is like when I look at stuff, I wrote this software that basically takes a lot of different information about the site itself, just given the URL. What we do, and we try to discover the gap between how people feel about the brand and how people perceive it through technology. And so those are two very different things. And what we do is we expose this gap. That gap really tells us what your potential is. So if you think about it, like if you're doing something already and you're putting effort into it and it's not going anywhere, because we've seen sites where people have them up there, they've been up there for years and they don't do anything with it. They have a 5 to 6% annual return on in sales. They've got about 6% in sales of their total business through that site. The same person with the same platform who puts tons of time into it has the same return. The reason being is that the technology behind this is not helping them at all. Like it's sort of a negative energy for being discovered, because the people who return to that site are only the people who know them.
Right.
So there's no new discovery, there's no new business, and that's a platform issue. And so what we try to do is say, you need to hold yourself accountable for people discovering you. You don't have to go out and buy keywords, but your platform will help you do that if you build it correctly, and then you keep feeding it and massaging that content into place so that people get that question and answer thing now that we have AI search.
Right.
Visual search or SEO.
Yeah.
It's going to be a low-level player in how things are coming out. So you've got to attack these things on multiple levels. And if your platform doesn't allow you to do that, it's just adding stuff into this mix that you have to maintain. And so we like to streamline all that. With you guys, it's all set up to run that way. And so as you add more information over time, it just gets collected and that becomes the source of truth. And so you're knowledgeable, accountable, and you've been there for a while. And so people can trust that. The search engines through, Claude or Perplexity or Chat, they all will show up there because they know this is the source of direct knowledge on a subject.
Mm-hmm.
So that's taking the place, your site is taking the place of a search keyword that has been purchased. This bidding process is going to fall by the wayside. So those are the things that like you have to combat as a small business that you're probably never going to be able to, to fix unless you look at this thing from a much larger perspective, and be effective in what you do. So what we're trying to say is like, look, we can help. We can help. We can fix this. Let's not be too precious about it. Let's take your brand and really amp it up and put it in the right place for you to be able to foster this thing along with us. But it's more about the understanding of, I mean, there's a lot more, I guess, conceptualization of what this is in terms of how technology and feeling and sentiment go together. And so what we found is that like when we do that, based on general like click-through rates and things like that, we're looking at showing like the potential like revenue that you're missing. And like if we fix these things, we can turn that thing over. And so when there's a revenue directly associated with it, let's just call it like an e-commerce site. Because maybe people visit on mobile and you can't load the mobile site, it takes forever. People just bail. And so fixing the site performance or security issues or things like that will actually create a better user experience that ranks higher with search. It ranks higher with anything that you have out there. So you got a lot of problems that are going against you. And so once you fix those things and you've got a core foundation that works, you can start to rebuild that brand in a manner that's going to have a return.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we're getting the hook from Gelman, so we're going to have to wrap this up. And we were just saying we just took a short commercial break there, and that Ash made the comment. I'm like, man, I mean, I could talk about this stuff all day. I could talk about this stuff all day too. I mean, I think this is fascinating. Let me just throw out one last question for you guys to chew on for a minute. And we like to have fun here, be informal, talk about a topic, but we also like to provide helpful hints, and you've done a lot of that already. And but especially since it's the beginning of the year, what about major web trends for 2026? Are there one or two things you guys can think, where websites are going or what is going to be possible 6 months from now that isn't possible now? I don't know if that's an AI thing or what, but what do you think about that? Or are there a couple of things that people should watch out for?
You go after. I'll go after.
Well, obviously AI is a large part of our lives now, so that has an impact. Things like voice prompting has been around for a long time, but I think we're going to see more of that and more simplified like user interactions and navigation and things like that, because things are just getting smarter, right? So the tech is getting smarter. People we're using things a little bit differently, and it's only gonna be more so as we move forward.
Yeah, I mean, to build off that, like I think the non-interface is what's going to come and be very prevalent, meaning like it's basically you get someplace and you use a search box to find what you need. More user interacted, but you're kind of going to a space to get that information because it's there. But that serves, like, let's say you take a product or a service or something like, that's got multiple different user types. That's the best way to service all these needs. Make it more universal so that it's really just a search results type to interface. And that makes everything available all the time, and it services all the needs. And so I think there's a universality to it, but sometimes it feels like it's this lowest common denominator. So I think the trend's probably going there. It has to be refined. And this is how it always works. It's like someone goes totally to the extreme and then they kind of nail it and kind of get more to the middle and figure out what's most universally, kind of utilitarian.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Or it's simple.
Everything out.
No, Say it again, Ash. Sorry.
I was going to say, because you can't just throw everything out as it stands today and go into like this like non-interface. So there's going to be kind of again, like we were saying, it's like we're used to certain behaviors and all that stuff. So it's kind of going to slowly just go more in that direction.
It makes sense to me.
Makes a lot of sense.
Jeff, any closing comments from your side?
No, I think this has been a really great conversation. I learn things from these guys every day, and I also have my feelings about websites and what I like to engage with and what I don't like to engage with. So this has been very helpful to me. And I think their wisdom and their technical knowledge and their insight into what the end users want has been super important to us and hopefully to the people watching this. And it'll give you some fodder for your thoughts regarding your own website. So before you sign off, John, I'll just remind everyone to go visit our website at www.clientsfirstmc.com. Do I have it right, John?
You do.
I have it right. And also visit us on all the major social networks. We're every place. We're every place. So with that, I turn it over to my good friend and partner, John Clendenning.
Well, thank you, Mr. Vaughn. I don't really have much to say beyond that. Happy New Year. Pete, Ash, any closing comments from your side?
I mean, I just want to thank you guys. It's been great to get to know you guys more, but I mean, I think we're both, happy for that. And you guys put some trust in us and we really appreciate it. I think, we will always work our hardest to help you guys. And, we're here for a lot of different purposes, but I think we love working with really good people. So that's nice.
Right back at you.
Thank you. Yes. Same to you.
From your side.
Just thank you so much for this. It's been great.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things, I'll close with this. This is actually on our website, that in order to make it into this esteemed club of the Clients First Partner Network, you have to pass the hardest test of all. It is harder than the bar exam. No, it's not. You have to pass the so-called beer test.
Yes.
These guys, so I don't know if that's the hardest test or maybe the easiest test. Jeff, you haven't had the pleasure. I have had the pleasure of having beer with Pete in Hermosa Beach, California.
That's right.
I have not, but I'd like to in the future, Pete. Maybe consider it a date.
It's sunny out.
Well, that kind of got us going into this, into this journey. So anyway.
Gelman. Gelman.
Yes. Gelman Blue. Yes. So
made the match.
Thank you guys again for everything you did for us. To the general population out there, anyone listening, Reformer is the real deal. We could not recommend them any higher. And I say that both personally and professionally. These guys know what they're doing and they're really good to work with. So thank you both. Happy New Year to everybody out there. And we'll talk to you later in the month.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See ya. Thank you.